And to help us understand Japan's role in the global movement toward free trade, we have with us in the studio today Yorizumi Watanabe, Professor of International Political Economy at Keio University. Welcome to the program.
Good to see you again, Terry.
We just mentioned how South Korea and Japan are rivals when it comes to exports. So which Japanese business sectors will be affected the most by the South Korea-EU FTA, and will this affect Japan's own trade negotiations?
Well, Japanese industrial sectors, which would be mostly affected by this EU-Korea FTA, would be, I would say, automotive sectors, as well as electric appliances, such as plasma TVs.
And we make sometimes the comparison between South Korea and Japan and saying that Japan lags behind South Korea when it comes to free trade agreements, but South Korea relies much more on exports. Is it okay to make such a blank comparison?
Yeah, certainly. The Korean exports, which is much higher percentage to its GDP. So, you know, it is quite very true that Korea's dependency on export is much more extensive than that of Japan. But I do not want to use this argument as a kind of excuse of Japan not really, you know, enthusiastic or spontaneous about free trade agreements. I think Japan should be more ambitious about making FTAs with very important trading partners such as United States, European Union, and even with China.
Yeah, actually there's been some talk about a trilateral free trade agreement between China, Japan, and South Korea. But given the difference in their economic situations, is that a possible idea?
Well, certainly, you know, recently the summit meeting was being held amongst the top leaders of those three countries that you mentioned, and they agreed that they would quickly wrap up the study phase, and then they would like to start negotiations between those three countries. But as you mentioned, we have some practical difficulties, and in that sense, Japan and Korea FTA, that we have already started our negotiation back in December 2003, and after 1 year, it has just stopped, and since then it's been suspended. So I think the Japan-Korea FTA should be kind of cornerstone of this trilateral FTA, and both Japanese and Korean governments should make more endeavors to start rolling on their negotiations.
Would this lead to maybe a broader trade?
Yes, certainly. So TPP is kind of very much expandable sort of FTAs, and bringing all the economies of APEC region. And that's the only one framework that actual negotiation has been taking place. I think TPP is the most realistic format of expandable FTAs across all the Asia-Pacific region.
Professor Watanabe, thank you very much
Thank
for
you very
joining
much
us
indeed.
today.